Hello everybody, it's Non-Scene News here, and today we've got some breaking news first coming from Belarus. So let's just get started. So, coming from the actual border between NATO and Belarus, so the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Belarus at the border of the Republic with the EU countries, there are apparently 10 NATO battalions tactical groups with a total number of about 20,000 troops. So, the Belarusian Ministry of Defense is very nervous about this because this fact is combined with the Ukrainian recent drone activities on the Belarus territory. So it seems that Ukraine, we talked about this yesterday, has been placing more and more troops on the Kiev district, on the territory of Belarus. It's been moving troops and actually air defense systems. So very interesting. And now apparently NATO has about 20,000 troops on its border. So the Ministry of Defense has responded that Belarus is ready to use tactical nuclear weapons if its independence is threatened, said the chief of the General Staff of the Belarusian Armed Forces. So this is a clear outline saying like if we feel threatened, that Belarus will use a tactical nuclear weapon, and it did say that we do now know how to use these tactical nuclear weapons because they've been taught by Russia. Obviously, these are not Belarusian tactical nuclear weapons, they are Russian tactical nuclear weapons, and in the previous, I'm pretty sure, year or months or 6 months, Russia has been teaching the Belarusian army how to use these tactical nukes in case of an emergency. So, very, very interesting. We have some pretty interesting reports coming from Yestenberg, though. But a NATO, you could say, graveyard of armored equipment in Yestenberg has appeared. So the Russian government has decided to bring a lot of damaged equipment from Ukraine. So U.S. tanks, IAVs, German IAVs, British armored vehicles, Turkish armored vehicles, American and Ukrainian. So they brought them all on this center here, and they've decided to showcase it to the public. So it's open, so the public of Yestenberg can visit it, but I'm not sure if they're allowed to touch it though. So we're not sure why this is just came out of nowhere. It could be because of the Veteran Day in Russia, or it could just be for people to try and join up into the Ukrainian war, and maybe to spark some more popularity of the war and get more support. And we've got some news coming from the French parliamentary elections. If you haven't heard, the far right party in France has won. So So I'm just going to show you the statistics on the bottom left corner. So the far right party, Le Pen, wins the first round of the parliamentary elections in France. They won with a staggering 34% of the vote, whereas Macron's party only won 21% of the vote. So the far right party has won this phase. There's going to be another one, and then I think the final decision is going to be made. I'm not good with French politics, so I don't know what they're going to do different. But all I know is that Macron has called like a coalition, like a broad alliance against the far right party, and Macron did warn us in a podcast what he did with, I think it's like it was some podcast, but he said that a civil war might break out because of this. So very, very interesting. We've got some reports coming from NATO. Stoltenberg, the head of NATO, has announced that the United States will remain a strong ally of NATO, regardless who wins the upcoming election in the US. NATO considers China an adversary, but the alliance believes that Beijing challenges its values and interests. NATO will also be strengthening its relations with Australia, South Korea, and Japan. So very big news coming from here. And I'm pretty sure I told this in another video that I feel like NATO is really pushing China into Russian arms here, and the worst thing Stoltenberg could do, in my opinion, is push China and Russia even more closer. But so the NATO Secretary General Stoltenberg has accused China for instigating the biggest conflict in Europe since the Second World War. According to Stoltenberg, Russia has allegedly produced drones and missiles receiving support from the export of technology and electronics from China. For this reason, the Secretary General considers it necessary to strengthen partnership with Japan, South Korea, Australia, New Zealand to increase the pressure on China. Again, all this is going to do is push China and Russia even closer together. So I'm not sure if this is a good idea, but I hope he's got a plan. We've got very, very interesting reports coming from the Red Sea. So the Houthi forces, if you can see on the bottom left corner, has published footage of a destruction of the Trans World Navigator ship, which previously visited a port in an Israeli port. So it was coming from Israel, I believe. It went down the Suez Canal, and apparently it got hit by a kamikaze boat. So these kamikaze boats are very deadly, and we've seen them in use of the Black Sea. So Ukraine uses these to sink the Russian vessels and ships. So apparently the Houthis have made their own, and it seems to be targeting these cargo shipments and navigators, and it seems to be hitting them. So very interesting news. We got some news that Hezbollah has published a video of them targeting Israeli tanks and armored vehicles. If you can see this video here, you can see this Hezbollah troop fire some, I believe it's like a javelin or guided missile uh, towards these tanks here. If you can see here, it hits these tanks on the northern border of Lebanon and Israel. So things seem to be keeping escalating on this border, and it doesn't seem to be stopping anytime soon. And a huge Israeli protest has broken out somewhere in the streets of Tel Aviv. So these protesters are demanding early elections and the release of the hostages, obviously in Gaza. So very interesting. And more news is coming from the German arms sales, which are apparently, from official data, booming. So the economy ministry data published Sunday shows Germany's weapons exports shot up 30% in the first half of 2024 compared to last year, with sales worth at least 8 billion agreed already this year. So Germany hit record high sales, 13 billion in 2023, on the back of hefty deliveries to Ukraine, but also a huge increase in exports to Saudi Arabia after Berlin's relaxed restrictions against the kingdom. So Germany and Saudi Arabia seem to be doing more military agreements, more German weapons are going to Saudi Arabia. Coming from America, we got news that the independent candidate for the U.S. presidential elections, Robert Kennedy Jr., has believes that U.S. sanctions only strengthen the Russian economy. So that was just a quick statement from him. We got some pretty interesting news coming from Crimea. So there's been actually a huge queue of cars trying to enter Crimea today as peak holiday season approaches. So I just found this very interesting that even though strikes on the Crimea is regular and it happens regularly, not so long ago there was a strike on the Sevastopol beaches that ended up killing a few Russians, but it seems that people don't really mind. So a lot of people are visiting Crimea in the coming days. So very, very interesting actually. The ex-Bolivian general was transferred to a maximum security prison after failed coup. So the general of the Bolivian army was transported to the highest maximum prison in La Paz. So this is the capital of Bolivia here. So La Paz is here. So somewhere around here, he'll be in a prison. So he faces charges of terrorism and starting an armed uprising. So very, very interesting. And we got some pretty funny news that Kanye West has been confirmed in Moscow. So the American rapper Kanye West has been confirmed. So he said at the front of his social media network page, he said, "Hello Moscow." So very interesting. And the bottom left corner, you can see him trying to hide his face here. So very, very interesting. And the Nigerian government in Africa has has confirmed it is taking back control of French-run uranium mines after the government revoked a treaty of nuclear fuel producers' license for failing to meet demands to resume mining. So the Nigerian government has decided to take all these French uranium mines in Niger. So the situation of France decreases even more. The ships of the Russian Navy will apparently be built with an additional protection of the engine rooms from the sea drones, reported the Ministry of Defense. And also, we got some news that I forgot to add on the map because they just came out. Apparently, Hunter Biden wants his father to continue the presidential race, says the New York Times. And apparently, coming from Dagestan, the tax authorities has seized the accounts of Habib Nurmagomedov due to a debt of 297 million rubles. So very, very interesting. He was a former champ in the UFC. So that's all I have for you today. I am non-scene news. I will try and provide you the non-scene news that Western medias and other medias do not show you. I do these videos every day. Consider giving me a like and subscribe. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope I see you again.